still remember the sharp vibration of the phone on my desk that Tuesday afternoon. Shrill against the quiet room, an unknown number. I nearly didn't answer. If I hadn't picked up that call, my life might have taken a very different path. Ms. Serenity Walker? The woman's voice on the other end was dry and unfamiliar, like it had been filtered through static. I think you should know something about your husband and his new assistant. I froze. My hand clenched the edge of the desk. My heart seemed to skip a beat. Who are you? I managed to ask, my voice trembling like I already knew what was coming. I'm someone who believes you deserve the truth, she replied. Lakewood Inn, room 508, every Friday afternoon for the past 4 months. The receipts are all charged to the company card your husband approved. Then, click, the call ended. I sat stunned in my chair while the office buzzed quietly with the hum of printers and keyboard clicks. We'd been married for 22 years, had 2 children, built Parker and Walker together, one of Seattle's most respected interior consulting firms. My entire adult life had been tied to a man named Noah Walker, and in less than 60 seconds, everything I had trusted peeled away like a thin coat of paint. I calmly opened my computer and logged into our company's internal expense management system. And there they were. Line after line of transactions blinking back at me. Lakewood Inn, $216.40. Friday, 3:18 p.m. Lakewood Inn, $198.75 the following Friday. 16 times, 16 receipts, all during business hours. All aligned with the emergency meetings Noah kept using as excuses to leave the office early. And the other woman? I'd met her. I was the one who interviewed and hired her. Amber Green, 27, honors graduate in design, light brown hair, bright smile, always volunteering for extra work. Noah insisted she become his executive assistant when we opened the new Bellevue branch. I used to admire her initiative. I even remember last Christmas. She and her husband Ethan, a software engineer, came to our holiday party. I still recall Ethan's gentle smile as he served her a second helping of appetizers. A young couple who seemed perfectly ordinary. And now, Amber was sleeping with my husband in a hotel room charged to a company card I co-owned. That night, I said nothing. I made dinner just like always. Noah walked into the kitchen, gave me a quick kiss on the cheek and dropped his briefcase onto a chair. Client meeting ran late down in Tacoma. Traffic was insane, he said, popping open a Starbucks to-go cup. I placed the seared salmon on the table. You look tired, I said softly. Yeah. Been running non-stop this week. He gave a half smile, eyes looking anywhere but mine. I sipped white wine, voice steady. I'm thinking of hiring someone new for digital operations. Our data management system's showing signs of a leak. We need someone strong in security. He exhaled shortly, just don't make a scene out of it. I smiled, eyes fixed on his. I think I should personally oversee this one, right person for the job. Not a flicker of suspicion crossed the face of the man I'd shared a life with for over 2 decades. I let him talk, let him lie, and I simply watched, and waited for the right moment to strike. The next morning, I called HR and asked to pause the recruitment process for the cybersecurity position at our new branch. I'd like to personally review the applications, I said. There's someone I have in mind. And that someone was none other than Ethan Green, Amber's husband. I had quietly started following his LinkedIn profile ever since that fateful call. Ethan was currently on leave after a merger at his former firm. Impressive credentials, solid experience, previously led internal security. I knew I wouldn't need to do much convincing. 2 days later, I texted Ethan from one of our secondary company lines, inviting him to a private interview for a specially tailored position. When he walked into the conference room that day, I saw the surprise flicker in his eyes when he realized I was the one interviewing him. I'm sorry if this is unusual, he said after a moment of silence. I thought this was some IT role in Bellevue. No, this one's based here at headquarters, I replied, voice calm. And it reports directly to me. I need someone I can trust completely. He tilted his head slightly. Why me? I placed my hands on the table, my gaze locked on his. Because I have a feeling you and I are both walking through a game neither of us has admitted to out loud. He said nothing more. but I saw the slight clench of his hand. The interview lasted over an hour, and by the end of it, Ethan understood everything I didn't say. A few days later, he became Parker and Walker's new head of security, reporting directly to me. Amber had no idea, and clearly Noah didn't bother to notice. I began collecting evidence, quietly, patiently, one detail at a time. Every unusually long meeting between Noah and Amber went into my calendar notes. Every lunch outing they returned late from, I recorded the time. I instructed the admin team to reposition the third-floor hallway cameras, the floor with Noah's office and Amber's desk facing each other. Some staff reported missing supplies, I explained in an email. No one questioned it. Ethan worked silently but efficiently. He implemented a new access monitoring system, enabled extended internal email backups, all fully authorized by me. Just focus on the executive team, I told him. And especially any files downloaded from Amber or Noah's machines outside regular hours. Every time I walked past Amber's desk, I caught her eyes darting away. Every time Noah came home late, muttering about traffic on the Fremont Bridge, I opened my laptop and added another note to the file titled, "The Sixth Door, Their Code." One time, I passed by the first-floor conference room with the door slightly ajar and heard Amber's soft laugh. Noah's voice followed, low and far too intimate for a professional setting. I left the door open and took note of the time, 5:22 p.m., Friday. I didn't know if Ethan had begun to suspect his wife, but I knew he was seeing the same signs I was. One Wednesday afternoon, he knocked on my office door and gently placed a printed page on my desk. "This is the after-hours access log from Ms. Green's workstation," he said. "Several financial files were opened at 11 p.m. last night. It wasn't on the work schedule." I nodded and carefully folded the paper. "Do you want me to report this to accounting?" Ethan asked. "Not yet," I said, locking eyes with him. "I want to see what else they try to pull." He paused a few seconds, then replied quietly, "Understood." As Ethan stepped out of my office, I glanced through the glass wall. Amber was leaning over Noah's desk, shoulder brushing against his. Back at my desk, I powered up the laptop, then opened the second file. Next phase, the Net Titans. 3 weeks after Ethan started at the company, the new security system went fully operational. No one complained, because Ethan had a way of making people feel protected instead of watched. Amber still smiled and laughed as if nothing had happened. Noah still came home on time 2 nights a week and blamed work for the other 3. I'd gotten used to my role, the composed, quiet co-founder, buried in client files and board meetings. But inside, I was documenting every detail. This was a long game, not for the impatient. One Monday morning, Ethan arrived earlier than usual, carrying a printed document and a small silver USB drive. "We've got a problem," he said, his voice low. I closed my laptop and motioned for him to sit. Friday night, just before midnight, someone logged into the financial system from Amber's computer. They downloaded payroll data, accessed vendor payment records, and temporarily authorized a secondary account. I took the printout, scanning each command line. Clear, precise. No other employees were in the building at the time. "Anyone else know besides me?" I asked. Ethan shook his head. "No. I revoked that access as soon as I spotted it. But it's possible they already did something." I inserted the USB and opened the file Ethan had prepared. A spreadsheet of suspicious expenses appeared. $2,375, web design services for a new vendor. $3,820 advance for the Bellevue trial project. $5,190 payment for unverified software licenses. Each expense was under $5,000, scattered throughout the system, but all were approved by Noah and processed from Amber's managed account. Over $120,000. Total, Ethan said quietly. I cross-checked the last 6 months. They've been using non-existent project codes or assigning the funds to unlaunched side categories. I clenched my hands on the desk. So this wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was financial. To me. And to the company I'd spent nearly 20 years building. "What are you planning to do?" Ethan asked, his tone cautious but respectful. Keep watching. We don't have enough to confront them yet. But I want to know what they're planning to do with the money. Ethan pulled out another page. This is the access log for the external account they're using. It's a Nevada bank account under an LLC, registered last month. AG Consulting. I gave a cold smile. AG? Amber Green. They weren't even trying to hide it. They never imagined someone was watching, but I was. That evening, when Noah came home with takeout from our favorite Italian restaurant, I kept my usual smile. He set the bag on the table, took off his coat, and turned on some light jazz. Just like every weekend. Had a big pitch today, potential client from Portland, he said, as he poured wine. Amber prepped everything well. I think if we land this, we should reward her. How much of a bonus would be appropriate? I asked lightly. 3,000? Or maybe 4,500 through the private account, like the flexible expenses from last week? Noah paused. The wineglass stopped mid-air. What did you just say? My voice was calm as I met his gaze. I've just noticed some odd expenses lately. Looks like someone's been handing out bonuses with company money. The room fell quiet, but I didn't give him time to respond. I stood up, pulled a salad from the fridge, and added, We're all tired, aren't we? Sometimes it's wise to take a break. Sometimes it's smarter to let others think you don't know a thing. I walked out slowly, not bothering to glance back, and in my mind the next step of the plan clicked into place. It was no longer about gathering. It was time to cut off every exit. The next 3 weeks passed in eerie silence. But it wasn't the silence of peace. It was the stillness before a storm. Ethan and I took turns gathering evidence, like two people carefully clearing a minefield already wired to explode. We found emails sent from Noah and Amber's internal accounts with innocent subject lines, but hidden inside were encrypted payment codes, disguised as internal notes about projects. They used code names like Fountain Move, Week 6, or Client 12, confirmed for delivery slot 3. I pulled old conference room invoices and matched at least 4 of them to partner meetings Amber had scheduled, on days when real clients never arrived and both of them vanished for half the day. Ethan even extracted hallway camera footage from after hours. Twice, Noah and Amber were seen leaving the office at 10 p.m. carrying laptop bags. One time, they returned nearly 3 hours later, through the side entrance. They thought no one noticed. But I had started noticing everything. We backed up all data to an encrypted drive with dual passwords and a cloud copy stored in 2 separate secure locations. I wouldn't let one slip ruin this, not now. And then, the biggest puzzle piece appeared. One Thursday afternoon, right after I finished a meeting with legal, Ethan messaged me to meet him in the basement server room. The one with no mics and where no one expected secrets. And I walked in. He was seated at a monitor displaying 2 windows. One was Amber's email, the other a flight confirmation. I held my breath as I read the words. One-way flight /Seattle /Buenos Aires /Friday, July 19th /first class. And here, Ethan pointed to the adjacent transaction column, is the request to verify the Brentworth contract transfer, an initial deposit worth $10 million. My eyes landed on the last line. Approved by Noah Walker. Prepared by Amber Green. And what chilled me most, the recipient account information had been changed. No longer the company's usual deposit account, but one newly added just yesterday at an out-of-state bank. I sat down, trying to stay composed. They're planning to drain the $10 million and fly straight to South America, I whispered, leaving nothing behind but wreckage. Ethan's face was calm, but his eyes couldn't hide the fury. We need to block that transaction, but they can't know we know. I angled toward him, calm and deliberate. I want you to take full control of all financial verifications starting today. Set up dual authentication. Any transaction over $500,000 must be approved by both of us. His posture shifted, a spark lighting behind his eyes. I'll get started right away, he said. That evening, I called an emergency meeting with the senior finance team. Noah arrived last, as usual, still playing the busy executive with his phone glued to his hand. Amber stayed quiet, taking notes like she always did. I have an announcement, I said once the room settled. We're implementing dual authentication for all transfers above $300,000, starting tomorrow. All such transactions will require 2 approvals, one of them from Mr. Green. Noah frowned. Serenity, is that really necessary? Brentworth's a long-time client. There's never been a risk. I smiled calmly. Exactly why we can't afford to be complacent. Amber glanced at Noah briefly, but I caught it. Within moments, they understood. Who now truly controlled the final gateway? Later that night, as I happened to walk past Noah's office, I heard him whispering into the phone. No, they changed the process. We'll need another plan. Just stick to the flight schedule. I'll take care of the rest. Friday, July 19th. The day they thought they'd vanish with $10 million and no one would know. I woke up earlier than usual, brewed coffee but didn't drink it. Instead, I sent a short email to the executive team. I'm not feeling well this morning. Please handle the Brentworth transfer as agreed. Serenity. Noah replied 10 minutes later. No problem. Amber and I will take care of it. Get some rest. Love you. I stared at those last 2 words and gave a small laugh, still acting. At 8:30 a.m., I drove around to the company's back gate, the one mostly used by technical staff. Ethan was already waiting, handing me a temporary ID badge he'd borrowed from a contractor on leave. We moved quickly to the monitoring room, where the entire transaction system was live-streamed across 3 large screens. Everything's in place, Ethan said. Amber swapped out the document set with the fake account info last night, just as we predicted, and she sent the confirmation email to Brentworth this morning. What about the system? I asked. Programmed, so when they input the confirmation code, the data reroutes to the legitimate company account. The rest is up to you. I'm for the curtain to fall. At exactly 10 a.m., I sat in the surveillance room, watching through the camera as Noah led the morning briefing. His demeanor was unchanged, polished, confident, holding the presentation Amber had prepared. I'll personally oversee today's transaction, he announced. Amber has all the required documentation ready. We'll proceed as scheduled to maintain trust with Brentworth. Amber stood beside him, handing out pre-printed folders. Her face was unnervingly composed. The room stayed unaware. No one questioned the documents. No one saw her fingers tighten around her phone. A fake text created by Ethan. At 11:17 a.m., I received a call from Brentworth's finance director, Mr. Holden. Serenity, we've just completed the transfer. Just wanted to confirm. Account ending in 7981, Seattle Bank, correct? That's correct. Thank you for your usual diligence. At 11:30, I walked through the front entrance of the company, dressed in a deep navy suit, hair neatly pinned, eyes hardened without a trace of pity. The receptionist startled at the sight of me. Ms. Serenity, I thought you were out sick. I recovered suddenly, I said gently. And there are a few things today I need to handle personally. I sent out a company waste emergency meeting notice for 10 minutes later. The large conference room quickly filled. Noah sat at the head of the table, frowning as I entered. Amber beside him, pale-faced. Thank you all for coming so quickly, I began. I have a serious matter to report. Ethan stood beside me holding a stack of folders. He began handing them out. In the past few months, I continued, certain individuals have deliberately altered financial data, created phantom accounts, and attempted to siphon $10 million from our largest client. The room was silent. Fortunately, our dual authentication system blocked the transaction, I went on. The full amount is now secure in the company's official account. Then my attention shifted to Amber. Do you have anything to say? Amber opened her mouth but no sound came out. Noah shot up from his seat. What the hell are you talking about, Serenity? This is a misunderstanding. Those documents are forged, I cut in, approved by you. And the security cameras clearly show who swapped the original files and who accessed the system at midnight. Ethan held up the final sheet. An image of Amber and Noah in the third-floor print room, time-stamped 11:46 p.m. on Wednesday. I met their eyes without flinching. This isn't just financial misconduct. You've seriously violated company ethics. An inappropriate workplace relationship, embezzlement, deliberate concealment of criminal activity. Amber burst into tears, her lips trembling. I never touched the accounts. He said it was authorized. Don't drag me into this farce, Noah growled. You came up with the plan. That's enough. I motioned to the security guards waiting at the door. Both of you are hereby suspended, effective immediately. All personal devices have been locked. Authorities will take over from here. I pushed back my chair and took in the room. The employees' faces were a mix of shock and awe. This company was built on integrity and trust. No one has the right to destroy that for greed. Then I walked out of the conference room, leaving behind Noah's vacant stare, and the muffled sobs of the woman he once thought he'd vanish with, unnoticed. Amber could no longer hold it together. I was just following instructions. Noah told me to change the account info. I didn't know it was illegal. The room fell into chilling silence. Only the soft shuffle of papers remained, and the sharp stares locked on the two who'd been exposed. He faced Amber, the edge in his voice breaking. You're trying to pin this all on me? Did you forget who proposed splitting the accounts? Who reprinted the transfer forms and hid the originals? You said you'd take responsibility, Amber nearly screamed. You said Serenity never pays attention to the numbers. They'd stopped hiding. Now they were blaming each other in front of everyone. Noah faced me again, his grip on the chair so tight his knuckles turned white. What are you doing? This is our company. We can fix this internally. The company I built from scratch. I cut him off, voice low but firm. And I will not let it be dragged down by greed and lies. I walked to the table and placed down 2 sealed envelopes. Mel for the FBI, one for the Washington State Financial and Construction Regulatory Board. They've been contacted and will arrive today. Noah froze, his eyes went blank. Amber stepped back, clutching her purse strap tightly. You're not going to get away with this, I said slowly. I've gathered evidence for over 2 months. Fraudulent transactions, fraudulent behavior, emails, images, legal documents. Everything has been submitted to our legal team. Ethan stepped in, flanked by 2 corporate security officers. As per policy, I addressed the 2 of them. You are both suspended immediately. All system access has been revoked. Devices will be audited by a third-party investigator. You are not permitted to leave the state until an official conclusion is reached. That day, the office was quieter than ever. No small talk. No printers humming. No rushed footsteps echoing in the halls. The FBI arrived at 2 p.m. They didn't need to be loud. Their presence alone thickened the air. 2 agents met with me and Ethan, then entered the data archive room carrying the compiled files I had prepared. A week later, both Noah and Amber were formally summoned. The hearing lasted 3 months, with my attorney working closely with prosecutors. They were charged with financial fraud, unlawful system access, attempted misappropriation of company assets, and professional misconduct. With irrefutable evidence and conflicting testimonies, they couldn't deny it. Noah was sentenced to 5 years in prison, along with financial penalties and a full repayment order for the embezzled funds. Amber received a 3-year sentence, with potential parole after 18 months for good behavior. The court also permanently revoked both of their professional licenses in architecture and construction. I was present in the courtroom on sentencing day. He gave me a final glance before being led away. His eyes held no rage, no remorse, just a vague disbelief from a man who once thought he was untouchable. Amber never looked up. She kept her head bowed the entire time, silent. Ethan sat beside me. He didn't need to say a word. 6 months after the final hearing, the Walker and Partners sign was officially removed from the main building. I stood across the street, coffee in hand, watching the lift carry a worker up to strip away each letter. Like peeling off the last weathered layer of a dead era. 3 days later, the new sign went up. Price Design and Architecture. My maiden name. The name was mine now. The light was mine, the future mine to shape. That morning, as employees arrived, no one said much. A few snapped photos, some nodded gently as they passed me. Words weren't needed, they understood. The old cycle was closed. A new chapter had begun. Clear and unapologetic. The Henderson Group contract was completed 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Even better, we reduced construction costs by over 8% thanks to the internal audit system Ethan had implemented. Mr. Holden, the project director from Henderson, called me privately after the handover ceremony. We've worked with many firms, he said, but I've never seen a leader handle crisis with the kind of composure you did. If you're open to it, "We'd like you to directly oversee our expansion project in Denver." I leaned back in my chair, gazing at the late afternoon sky. "Thank you, Holden, I'll give it serious thought." My 2 children, Caleb and Morgan, are now grown, each studying in a different state. But when they heard the news about the company's name change, both sent the same message. "I'm proud of you, Mom." I read it 3 times, then saved it, like a personal medal. They had been shocked when the truth about their father came out. But instead of blaming me for hiding the cracks all those years, they chose to stand by me, without judgment, without demanding explanations. I moved out of the house I once shared with Noah, sold it to a newlywed couple, and settled into a smaller apartment on the 16th floor, overlooking Lake Union. Not spacious, but the breeze is always cool, and the light fills every corner. Each morning I open the curtains, make coffee, turn on music and enjoy. No more shadows passing behind me. No more pretending things are fine. I no longer stay up late checking emails for Noah. I stopped covering for broken promises, the skipped dinners, the canceled trips. And I no longer have to maintain the image of the ideal woman at industry events. I am simply me. And I'm still rebuilding a life that doesn't rely on anyone else to define it. One late evening, as I was finalizing the quarterly report, Ethan knocked on my door. "Sorry to bother you," he said, placing a small wooden box on my desk. "The old security cameras were taken down yesterday. I thought you should have the final recording." I opened the box. Inside was a hard drive. Label, Conference Room, July 19th. I closed the lid, set it aside, and looked him straight in the eye. "Thank you. But I don't need to watch it anymore." "Then I'll leave it here, in case you ever want to remember why you started." I used to think I was the woman behind a successful man. Used to believe that Noah's achievements were ours, that his press features didn't need my name beside his. I accepted the background role, handed him the spotlight, stayed the creative director while he played the leader. But the truth is, that wasn't humility. It was surrendering my own voice, surrendering the right to make decisions. And most importantly, surrendering the respect I never demanded for myself. Noah didn't destroy me. He simply helped me see how much control I'd quietly given away, all in the name of preserving a peaceful marriage. And Amber, she wasn't the cause. She was the clearest reflection of what I had refused to confront, being overlooked, dismissed, and surrounded by greed masked as praise. Those years weren't wasted. They built the woman who rebuilt everything. I see them as the foundation. Maybe it cracked, maybe it wasn't appreciated, but it made me strong enough to rebuild. One Saturday evening, I was driving home late after a client meeting at our new Tacoma office. On the empty highway, I played one of those old songs Noah used to call corny. The wind slipped through the cracked window. The city shimmered in the distance, with lights glinting off the skyline, including a tower recently contracted for renovation by my firm. I thought about things I never dared to dream before. About invitations to industry boards. About Morgan, my daughter, who said on our last video call, "Mom, I chose business over design because I want to run a company like yours someday." And I've become the woman I once wished I had beside me during the hardest years. Betrayal once broke me, but because of that fall, I learned how to stand on my own and go farther than anyone ever imagined. I stepped back into my apartment, kicked off my shoes, turned on the lights. On the bookshelf was the only photo I kept. My first hand-sketched building, drawn at age 24 as an intern who had no idea how life would unfold. I stared at it for a long while. Then I walked to the kitchen, turned on the kettle, and jotted a few ideas into my notebook. Tomorrow, I'll present our next project, the biggest one in the company's history. And I'm ready, not for anyone else, for myself. My story isn't just about exposing betrayal, it's about reclaiming identity. As a woman who was once overlooked, once shadowed by her husband's name, but rose again through quiet strength, resilience, and intellect. I didn't seek revenge through rage, I answered with undeniable success. From a wife in the background, I became a respected leader. And most importantly, I learned never to trade my worth to hold on to something that wasn't worthy of me. What do you think of Serenity's decision? Was she too cold, or was it exactly what needed to be done to protect herself and the company? Leave your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful family stories like this one.